Good morning. My name is Chris Lambert. I'm a singer-songwriter. You can probably tell that by looking at me. Since I graduated from high school in 2006, I've put out 11 albums under my own name. It's pretty much what I do every day of every year. But weirdly, that's not what brought me here today. After I put out my last album in May of 2018, I woke up the next morning like a lot of creative people do, feeling empty and useless, and like I might never create anything good again. So I sat down and I lost myself in a Wikipedia rabbit hole that day. And at some point that afternoon, I Googled Kristin Smart. It was a name I remember hearing a lot growing up. I was 8 when she went missing. I didn't know if it had ever been solved. I didn't know why it had never been solved. She disappeared from Cal Poly in 1996. What I didn't know was that there had been a person of interest since day one in the investigation. I didn't know why he was still out. I didn't know what had happened, but by later that night, I was completely obsessed with the case, and I was shocked that everybody wasn't talking about it constantly, and I was shocked that nobody had done a documentary about it. And there was just a brief, momentary flash that day where I thought, maybe I'm gonna make that documentary, and then I pushed it away, like a lot of people do. I'm a musician. I don't do things like this. Not to mention I'm quiet, I'm awkward, and I'm not a professional anything at all. But the idea never really left my head, and I spent the next months toying with it, trying to come up with ideas of how I would lay it out if I were gonna make episodes about it, wondering if I could pull something like that off at all. I subscribed to a newspaper archive, and I spent every day reading every article I could find about it, taking notes on it. Anytime I came across a name like a friend or a possible witness, I wrote it down, I looked them up, and then I just started calling them, which is super creepy to do. But I really wanted answers. I wanted to know what had happened. I wanted to know who had dropped the ball on this, who had dropped the ball on this family. And it turns out that a lot of people dropped the ball on this over the years. Cal Poly, the San Luis Obispo Sheriff's Department, even citizens who knew a little piece of the puzzle, but were afraid to come forward because they didn't want to get wrapped up in something like this. So I tried to remedy that. I put together the story, and in October, I put out the first episode of a 7-episode podcast series called Your Own Backyard, which I thought would spark some local conversation, maybe get people talking again, and instead it spread across the world. In fact, I turned down an interview from Court TV to be here this morning, and that's not a joke. More importantly, though, the San Luis Obispo Sheriff's Department agreed to talk to me after the first 6 episodes aired. They gave me a bunch of information on the case that had never been publicly released before. They let me pass on tips and leads, and they took them very seriously. They followed up on them. Just 3 weeks ago, the Sheriff's Department and the FBI executed search warrants at the homes of every member of Paul Flores's immediate family, and they seized important evidence at all 4 of those locations, which is being combed through right now. It was covered internationally by every major news network. Cal Poly even acknowledged after 23 years that they had mistakenly given Kristin failing grades on her final transcript because she wasn't there to take her finals, and her transcript was corrected this month to reflect that. Your Own Backyard is currently sitting at the top of the charts on every major podcasting platform. It's number 5 in the true crime charts in the United States. It's number 2 in Australia, and it's charting in Canada, Great Britain, Ireland, Turkey. You can ask my mom if you want the full list. But I don't say any of this to brag, really. I'm saying this to remind you that anyone can change things. Something I tried to talk myself out of doing that I didn't think I would be capable of doing had a major impact on an investigation, on a community, and most importantly, on a family that was desperately in need. So if there's something that you want to do that you have been putting off, Rest assured, there is no one less qualified than me. Kristin's mother, Denise Smart, told me that over the last 2 decades, she's often compared this investigation to sitting on an airplane with no pilot, taxiing the runway. Today, the plane is in the air, and Sheriff Ian Parkinson is at the controls. And while I'm feeling confident that the plane is about to come in for a safe landing, I'm not giving up yet either. I see it as my job to make sure that the Central Coast never goes quiet on this again, that Kristin Smart is remembered and spoken about until she's found and returned to her family, and I think we're closer to that than we've ever been. Thank you.